Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a brand new episode of Pressing Matters. This is episode number 5 right here on the Plug Talk Sports Network. You guys know me. I am your host, Daniel Torres. Once again, hope you guys are having a great week. We're just about to end the month of October. Soccer's in full swing. Champions League's in full swing. We're getting closer to 2026, the year of the FIFA World Cup. Domestic leagues are in full swing. MLS Cup playoffs are here. We're going to talk about that. Let's get into our Pressing Matters agenda. And number 1 is going to be actually this morning. Lionel Messi, the contract negotiation, the contract renewal that has been on the table, that has been a pressing matter. That people have been wanting to officially hear. We know Fabrizio Romano has been waiting for the here we go, and he has been reporting that they were close, It took some time in negotiations between Inter Miami and Messi, but this morning it's finally official, and it was quite funny yesterday afternoon over some coffee. My dad actually asked me, "Hey, what's going on with the Messi contract renewal situation?" Because we've been hearing for quite some time now, "Oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. He's going to renew." But things are not really official until they are official, right? And he asked me about it yesterday, and I told him we're still up in the air. We still know that it's close, but that's all we have. Nothing official from the club yet. But today, the club made it official with a great Instagram video. I know I've been critical of the club, and I've been critical of their social media, especially over the blunder on 9/11, the only South Florida sports organization not to say anything regarding 9/11. I pointed that out, but they did a good job here, and I give credit where credit is due. It was a great video. They had Lionel Messi signing his new contract at a desk, and as the camera pans out, you can see he is sitting right in the middle of the construction site for Miami Freedom Park. And that was a big concern for a lot of people, a lot of season ticket holders for Inter Miami was we have Messi. We know what the performance of the team has been like. Is he going to stay wanting to, knowing how the performance of the team has been like? Does he want to stay here? Does he want to continue with this project that Jorge Mas and David Beckham have in Miami with the freedom to dream, right? And today he's put pen to paper and he made it official. He is going to stay through December of 2028. So 3 more years of Messi in Miami. We can guarantee that this is the last World Cup for Messi with the Argentinian national team. It all makes sense, right? He wouldn't leave Miami and leave this club when the World Cup is going to be right here in the United States just next year. It wouldn't have made sense for him to leave. Obviously, I mentioned in the last episode that Argentina has a base here in Miami for their national team. So it helps them get ready right here in North America for the World Cup next year. And again, 3 years on to the contract. They're heading into the MLS Cup playoffs, which we're going to talk about later in this episode. But you think about it, 3 more years, you have things like the CONCACAF Champions Cup, you have the US Open Cup, you have Leagues Cup, you have the MLS Cup, and 3 more years allows Messi and this club to bring home a significant championship, which is the MLS Cup, right? That is, as a team in the MLS, what you're trying to accomplish. Not Leagues Cup, not US Open Cup, not CONCACAF Champions Cup, which I think CONCACAF Champions Cup is probably the second most important trophy behind MLS Cup. But I've always said it, and I'll say it again. If Messi, by the time, I think that these 3 years, these are the final 3 years of his career, and it's going to be right here in Miami in South Florida. If they don't win an MLS Cup by the time these 3 years are over and 2028 comes, it would have been a sporting failure. I do think that again, I've said it 1,000 times. Economically, yes, it's been a success for MLS, for the sport in this country, for Inter Miami itself. But sporting-wise, if he does not win an MLS Cup between now and the time he's out of here in 2028, it would have been a sporting failure. But this contract renewal gives him time and gives the club time to try to do that. And, you start to think to yourself, okay, so what does the club need to do now that they have secured Messi? Busquets is out the door. Jordi Alba is out the door. They're both retiring. They got those contracts off the books. And the DP spots, that they're going to add Rodrigo de Paul to the DP spots, and that leaves two. Supposedly Sergio Reguilon is going to be joining Inter Miami, but he will not be taking up a DP spot. We talked about that with Alex Winley right here on Pressing Matters. They need to build around Messi, and if they want to get that chance to hoist the MLS Cup, they need to build around him and give him assets to be able to win. And yes, I do think that Messi is bought in to, the project at Inter Miami, but I would say that's probably more from a business standpoint, right? Here in North America and expanding, even though Messi is a global, worldwide brand, but expanding the Messi brand in North America. Because you think about it, how many times have we seen Messi frustrated this season with the outcomes of games and the teammates that he has around them? Granted, yes, with Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba and Rodrigo de Paul, I'm sure that he doesn't have a problem with them. But for the other guys, I mean, how many times have we seen him frustrated of teams coming into Chase Stadium, or even when they go on the road and not being able to get it done? And when he has an off night, the team is not able to create. The problem with the defense, again, we talked about it with Alex Winley, the troubles that they've had in the back line. Again, the 3-year contract extension now gives the front office of Inter Miami to try to do something about that and address that. Again, the back line has been a problem for Inter Miami since probably its inception as a club, right? And yeah, they have tried to address it and bring in players, but we all know that Inter Miami has been focused, on the attacking side of things. It's again 3-year contract extension. You start to think about, okay, what about Luis Suarez at Pistolero? How long is he going to be staying? Is he going to be staying, 3 years of duration? The same time as Messi. Do Miami fans want that? We've seen that Suarez is struggling. He can't even run anymore. That's something from the attacking position, and having him start every match, is that beneficial to the club? How is it going to play with Javier Mascherano, who is a first-year head coach? And we've seen, like, in the Leagues Cup final against Seattle Sounders, where he was plainly out-coached by Brian Schmetzer and his team. And the decisions that Mascherano has made this year, that necessarily you can tell it's a rookie head coach. Will he progress as a head coach and get better as a head coach, or will he continue to be the same? And will there have to be another coaching change in Miami, an organization that's gone through so many coaches already, from Diego Alonso to Phil Neville to Tata Martino and now Javier Mascherano? All this comes into play and comes across my mind when I see Messi signing the extension. But yeah, the overall matter, the fact that it's good for the game of soccer in the United States. If you think about it, for kids that want to get into soccer, they look at Messi, they have Messi right in their backyard, in their home league. But it's hard, you have people that are going to be tuning in to MLS just to see Messi and Inter Miami, but not really the MLS product, right? We know that, and this is a straight fact, whether they want to defend it or not. Don Garber is who I'm referencing to, the commissioner of the MLS, of the failing product of Apple TV in MLS. People are tuning into MLS on Apple TV, if they even do bother to get a subscription, just to watch Lionel Messi play. Not necessarily Inter Miami either. They want to see Messi play, right? And I won't necessarily say Europeans. I would say a lot of South Americans probably are the ones that are tuning in to watch Messi and Inter Miami play. So that comes from a business standpoint when you think about the product of Apple and MLS. I mean, Messi doesn't mind, right? He's collecting a paycheck from Apple. So that doesn't hurt him. He doesn't matter whether he does good or not. He's getting that paycheck from Apple. And, of course, the jersey sales. And, he is now speaking at the American Business Forum at the Kaseya Center right here in Miami, where his own president of Argentina, Javier Milei, will be speaking. And U.S. President Donald Trump will be there speaking as well. It's a big economic business forum that's going to be happening right here in the city of Miami. So he has all of those things, investment with Mas Plus. He's expanding his brand, here in the United States. So I think that takes a big part of the reason why he decided to resign. And also, I think that maybe his kids and his family are comfortable here in Miami, and they just don't want to move again. Obviously, being in Barcelona for so long and then going over to Paris, where we all know he didn't have a fun experience over there, and now coming to Miami, right, that has the Hispanic feel to it, Hispanic culture, and a lot of Argentinians live here, a big Argentine community, probably makes it feel a little bit more like home. So all that, I think, is a big reason why he decided to resign for Inter Miami for 3 more years. But yeah, he's gonna get Lionel Messi here till 2028. He'll be opening Miami Freedom Park, which is supposed to open next year for next season. So that's the news on that. Here is another big one. This is very big. We talked about this twice. If you guys saw my personal YouTube channel where I covered the Sports Summit USA, and I talked about on there where I was able to see Javier Tebas, the president of La Liga, who was right here in Miami, in Coconut Grove. It was a great event. It was great to be able to see him speak and, of course, break the news that Villarreal and FC Barcelona would be playing a regular season match right here at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, December 20th. Well, about that, over the weekend, La Liga teams all over the league, including Real Madrid, protested, didn't play a couple of minutes, I would say a first minute or 30 seconds or what have you, of their matches in protest of this game taking place. And now there was a lot of media being thrown out there from the players' perspective because broadcast companies elected just to zoom out, pan out, show an outside shot of the stadium, and they decided not to show the protests ongoing. A lot of the clubs made statements, player made statements. I know Real Madrid made a statement. Thibaut Courtois was very vocal on it. So was Dani Carvajal. And players were talking about this is censorship, that they're not showing this on the broadcast. And a lot of players going directly at Javier Tebas. And so the conclusion of all this is that the La Liga match between Villarreal and Football Club Barcelona in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium on December 20th has officially been canceled. It only took 12 days from the announcement, the initial announcement right here in Miami at Sports Summit USA that I got coverage of to 2 days ago for them to say, okay, we're not doing it. We saw the league-wide protest and we're not doing it. We saw the outrage of it. And this is kind of a little bit like when the Super League, right? The Super League idea was created, and we saw all these clubs and fans in protest that they did not want the Super League. They did not want to do away with the UEFA Champions League or the Europa League. Same thing, but in Spain. Dani Carvajal, again, was one of the players that said this is censorship, that they're not showing our protest. And Thibaut Courtois from Real Madrid, the goalkeeper, Belgian international, saying we really, quite frankly, have no mood, even though it's Villarreal and Barcelona playing, we have no mood to fly 10 hours to the United States to play in a regular season match. And these players, they got their wish. The match is not happening. Football Club Barcelona was not happy about it. President Joan Laporta talked a little bit about it, and he also said he didn't care what Real Madrid had to say. It's very interesting, as the Clásico is upcoming this weekend. And then, of course, Villarreal, the president of Villarreal, who was in a Champions League match this week on Tuesday, was sitting in his box in his suite watching the match, and images came out that he received a phone call. We don't know who the phone call was from, but he was getting a phone call to be informed that the match had been canceled. There wasn't really much of a negative reaction, I would say, from the Villarreal camp. It was more from the Football Club Barcelona camp. They were a little bit more upset that this match was canceled, obviously because they were looking for the financial gains that would be gained to the club for this match. Again, knowing that Miami was going to be, we discussed this, Miami was going to be a pro Football Club Barcelona area at Hard Rock Stadium, not so much Villarreal. But Javier Tebas came out and spoke, was very vocal on social media, again saying, well, if the NFL and the NBA can come to Europe and expose their game, why can't Spain, the Spanish Football League, why can't we go to other countries and expand our league, right? And expand our brand. And look, from my personal opinion, from the player's perspective, I get it. You look at the La Liga teams that were part of the FIFA Club World Cup, which it was Real Madrid. They had last season, right? Then you jump right into FIFA Club World Cup. Then you had a little bit of time off. You jump right into this season. Again, they were not the ones that were going to play here, but players were talking about, if they wanted to make this an annual thing, they're tired. They already have to travel a lot throughout the season. They didn't feel like it was necessary to travel 10 hours to the United States or any future countries to play games just for the benefits and gain of monetary expansion and brand expansion for the league. I get that side. I do. But I also get the business standpoint of it, right? This could be more money for the league. They can invest in more things. They can expand this league and their brand and their market and gain more viewership and an audience. So I get that side as well. But Thibaut Courtois did make a good point. I said, hey, rather focusing, if you want to work on this league, let's not work on it from the outside internationally. Let's fix the problems that are right here present in this league, in this country. He talked about the case with the referees and their involvement with betting and corrupt decisions in Football Club Barcelona, the situation with VAR, all those things, taking the Spanish Super Cup to Riyadh, to Saudi Arabia. Courtois makes a good point there as well. But again, as I've told you, I see both points in the debate and the argument here. And, from the NFL and NBA, those two leagues are leagues that market themselves so well internationally. And you really don't see a lot of protests and a lot of players complain about it. It's two American sports. We know how the American market is. We know it's a consumer country, a capitalistic country. We know those things. And I would say for sports in Europe, it's more of tradition, right? And it's more about history. That's something that they don't want to touch, and they want to keep, preseason just outside of their country and not playing regular season games outside of the country. But ultimately, they get what they want. And Javier Tebas said, hey, this is not going to be the last time. We're going to try again at some point, and we're going to work with the Spanish Federation to get this done, to make it happen at some point. So he said it's not necessarily canceled, but postponed, because we want to do it at some point. And we saw that UEFA gave them the green light. FIFA gave them the green light. They were in cooperation with, folks here in Miami and elected officials here in Miami to coordinate this game. So he doesn't see it as a cancellation, but at a postponement. And what's funny is that their official reasoning is that the promoter for the match couldn't get everything done in time before the match date of December 20th, which that's the reason that they went with. But we obviously know that the true, real reason is because of the uprise in protest and people against this match. So we move on to something that's very, very interesting, and that is Liverpool. They did get a victory in their last match, which is in the UEFA Champions League, but they have fallen to fourth in the English Premier League because they had lost 4 straight matches dating back to the 27th of September, where they lost 2-1 to Crystal Palace. Then in the Champions League, a 1-0 loss to Galatasaray. Then a league match, 2-1 loss to Chelsea. Then the shocking one, which we'll get a little bit later, a 2-1 defeat in league play to Manchester United. But they bounced back and made things happen. A thrashing 5-1 victory in the Champions League yesterday against Eintracht Frankfurt. But 4 losses in a row for Liverpool. I know people were going insane about this. Is Liverpool falling? What's going on with them? And usually how it is with these big clubs, right? Even when they lose one game, things are in peril. Fans are in chaos. I'm not too concerned about Liverpool right now. I'm not saying they're going to win the Premier League. I'm not saying they're going to win the Champions League. But I think a 4-match skid, yes, is it something to be like, okay, well, that's something to look at. But it's not something to pull the alarm in the chaos and, wanting to fire the manager and, grill the players on social media. Yes, you can be critical of the performances. I did think that they played some tough teams. The FIFA Club World Cup champions in Chelsea, who are having a good season. They're right behind them in 5th in the Premier League standings. But they're currently at 15 points at the Premier League. Arsenal sits at the top of the table with 19. So, guys, this is not like the 4-game skid for them ended their entire season. I think for any club, and we're talking about Liverpool here in this specific example and situation, is if you're going to have a skid like this or go into a slump like this, better to have it right now than at the end of the season where things kind of start to matter a little bit more. So I'm not worried about Liverpool. They still have some fantastic players, Mo Salah, Luis Diaz, Cody Gakpo, obviously Virgil van Dijk. I think they're fine. I think they got a great coach. I'm actually quite excited to see when Real Madrid plays them in the Champions League, how that performance goes for Liverpool. Obviously defeated Real Madrid last year in the Champions League as well in November, right around the same time. But if you're a Liverpool fan, I don't think that you have anything to worry about here. I just think it was a little bit of a slump. You guys got right back on track with the Champions League yesterday, the thrashing over Frankfurt. And then you guys play this Saturday against Brentford. And then the 4th-round cup match against Crystal Palace to end out the month of October. That one on the 29th of October, so next Wednesday. I think that one's more the critical match, even though it is a cup match. Crystal Palace was the one that started off that losing streak for Liverpool. So I would be very interested to see how Liverpool responds and if they get revenge over Crystal Palace and see how they respond in general after the win over Frankfurt. If they start to dip in performance again and, this Frankfurt match, they were just a better team and they had a good night and they pulled out the victory, but if they go back into of a dip of form and losing, then I will say, okay, there's something going on there that needs to be looked at, that needs to be addressed, because Liverpool has a great roster and they shouldn't be playing at that form. But I think that they will turn the page from the skid. I think they'll put things together and trek on forward and be competitive in the Champions League and in the English Premier League. So I don't think that there is a worry there. We're going to move things back to the MLS, and I'm going to pull up here the graphic, or the bracket, should I say, because the MLS Cup playoffs are here. As I said yesterday, actually, Chicago Fire eliminating Orlando City. That one was absolutely shocking to me. I think Orlando had a great second half of the season. They beat Inter Miami. It looked like that they could be dangerous heading into the MLS Cup playoffs, because we all know the MLS Cup playoffs. If you follow this league, I've followed this league. I've worked in this league. I've been a part of this league. You know that it doesn't matter if you're the number one seed. Whoever gets hot and can take the cup. So that's the way that I see it, and I think it's the way that it's played out in years. So for Orlando, I really thought that they had a good chance, but credit to Berhalter and Chicago. They were able to take that final spot. And shout out to my guy, Phil Neville, with the Portland Timbers beating Real Salt Lake City. I'm happy for him. He's got them into the next round of the playoffs. They got out of that wild card spot. Remember, the first round of the MLS Cup playoffs is best of 3, so you got to win 2 games. That is the new format that was implemented last year by Major League Soccer. So credit to Phil Neville. Proud of him. Haven't seen him in a while. Last time I saw him was at the Ronald Reagan National Airport over in D.C. for the MLS All-Star game. We were both inside the American Airlines lounge. And obviously I worked at Inter Miami during his tenure as head coach at the club there, and just a great guy, and got a lot of criticism, but I'm happy that he is able to pull his team in Portland over to the playoffs. But let's take a look at the first round, how it's going to shape up in the Western Conference. So San Diego is an inaugural team, first seed in the Western Conference. They'll be playing Phil Neville's boys in the Portland Timbers. Then you've got the Minnesota United taking on Seattle Sounders. LAFC taking Austin FC. Obviously, Austin FC being a club that I like in Major League Soccer. Vancouver Whitecaps, who I'm going to be honest with you, is my favorite to win it all, against FC Dallas. So I definitely think that San Diego is going to take the victory over Portland, and they're going to move on to the next round, to the conference semifinals. Even though Minnesota's the 4th seed and Seattle's the 5th, I think that Seattle's going to take the victory there. They're going to play San Diego. LAFC and Austin, sorry for my boys and Matthew McConaughey over at Q2 in Austin, Texas, but I think LAFC is going to take that. And then I think, obviously, Vancouver Whitecaps are going to take out FC Dallas. So I have conference semifinal matchups being San Diego against Seattle, and then LAFC against Vancouver, which is going to be one hell of a matchup, let me tell you guys. I have an upset here. I think that because of the inexperience in San Diego, I think that Seattle will upset San Diego. Seattle's been here as an organization and as a team, and I think that Seattle moves on to the Western Conference Finals. I also think Vancouver, in a close game, might even go to penalties against LAFC, will advance to the Western Conference Finals. And then, of course, we have the Pacific Northwest rivalry, Vancouver and Seattle. And I think Vancouver with Thomas Muller, I think he takes the Western Conference trophy and moves on to the MLS Cup final. So let's move on to the Eastern Conference final, Eastern Conference. First seed Philadelphia Union, your Supporters Shield winners, take on the Chicago Fire. And then you got Charlotte FC against New York City FC, Inter Miami against Nashville, then Cincinnati and Columbus. So Philadelphia and Chicago, I got the Union beating the Fire, moving to the conference semis. Charlotte and New York City, I got Charlotte moving on. And then Inter Miami and Nashville. Nashville can be tricky. especially we saw Miami thrash Nashville, but I think Nashville, as dangerous as they can be at times, and I really like the players on their roster, I think they've been too inconsistent. I think Inter Miami takes that one. And then Cincinnati and Columbus, I got Cincinnati being the Crew. So then the conference semis, we've got Philadelphia and Charlotte. I love the Union. I really do. And I really want the Union, after they lost the MLS Cup final about 2 years ago to LAFC, I really want them to go back to the final and win one. But something in my gut just tells me that Charlotte is going to beat them. So I got Charlotte moving on to the Eastern Conference final. And then Miami and Cincinnati. I think this is the end of the road for Inter Miami. I think that it's a very, yes, you have Messi on your side, but I think it's a very tall task to go into TQL Stadium in Cincinnati. That's why it was so important seeding towards the end of the season in Inter Miami, trying to get as many results as possible. They had some losses and some draws in there that hurt them, but I think Cincinnati is going to beat Miami, and the Eastern Conference final is going to be Charlotte and Cincinnati. And here we go. I think that the winner of that one to face Vancouver in the MLS Cup final, I think it'll be Cincinnati. So I got Cincinnati, Vancouver, MLS Cup final, and I think that the winner of the MLS Cup will be the Vancouver Whitecaps, and Thomas Muller coming in, and of course Berhalter is over there. They got a great squad in Vancouver, and I think that they are going to win it all. So, final topic of today's episode before we get into Team of the Week, it's going to be Joe Bellingham. Joe Bellingham, who was in Sunderland, helped Sunderland. Obviously, he started his career in Birmingham City, like his brother Jude Bellingham. Moved to Sunderland, helped Sunderland get promotion to the English Premier League, and they're not doing too bad in an English Premier League so far this season. My personal opinion is I would have wished that Joe Bellingham would have stayed in Sunderland and played the Premier League with that club. I think that would have been phenomenal. But decided to take a route like his brother and join Borussia Dortmund. Obviously, we know Jude Bellingham was in Borussia Dortmund before he joined Real Madrid. But things are not going too well for Joe Bellingham in Borussia Dortmund. We've seen situations where Borussia Dortmund has not wanted his parents to be around. We've seen him frustrated in games, kicking the net. And now there's even talks that Joe Bellingham might exit Borussia Dortmund and go to another club. And well, here are just my thoughts on that. I think that he made a decision. I'm not saying he's trying to be like his brother, but I think that he made a decision since he helped Sunderland get to the English Premier League, and he played well, and he was a big factor in that it was his time to take the next step. And maybe he is. I think Joe is a great player. I don't think he's as good as his brother. I do think he's a great player and is a good asset. But I think that staying in Sunderland would have, given him a better wide variety of offers from bigger European clubs. If he would have stayed in Sunderland, I think that it would have opened the door to the national team to be called up and play on the national team with his brother. I think, in my personal opinion, that would have been the smarter move. But now he finds himself in a situation where things look like they're not going too well in Dortmund, and you're going to have that stain on your resume where there was things going on behind the scenes with Borussia Dortmund, and that was ultimately the reason why you had to leave the club. And, when people go on Wikipedia or whatnot and read about a player, they're going to see on their resume, Borussia Dortmund, how short of a time he was there, and they're going to see and read why he had to leave. And that's not something that you want as a professional and as a player, but it doesn't seem like it's a right fit right now. I think that he does see out the rest of the season from Dortmund. Can this be resolved? Absolutely. I think that this situation can be resolved. Will it be resolved? I think that we'll see in the summer. whether his camp and Dortmund, they get together and try to fix the solution, which again, I just said, I think it 100% is fixable. But for Job's sake, I hope that they can turn this thing around. He can start performing a little better the way that we know Jobe Bellingham can, and impacting his time in Borussia Dortmund, and that he can just get back on the saddle, and this can be a positive experience for him. And through his time in Dortmund, this can open the door like it did for his brother to other bigger European teams. So we're just going to have to monitor that situation and see what happens. But hopefully it turns around for Jobe Bellingham, even though it's not looking good right now. Finally, last item of today's episode, it's time for your team of the week. Your team of the week, it is Manchester United. Yep, you heard it loud and clear. This is not a dream. It's not a lie. It's Manchester United, team of the week. They defeated Liverpool 2-1. Goals in the second minute from Bryan Mbeumo, and 84th minute, Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire, the player that has gotten so much criticism over the years for his defensive efforts and his defensive play. I think the last 2-3 years, he's really come around on the national team. He's stepped up as a captain for Manchester United. He got the goal in the 84th minute. Cody Gakpo with the 78th minute goal for Liverpool. It was their lone goal, and this really, really was needed for Manchester United. Obviously, Arne Slot really needed this because his job with Liverpool took a hit with these 4 games. But he's going to be okay. We talked about that in the Liverpool segment. But for Manchester United, Isaac, as you guys know from the Plug Talk Sports family, my friend Michael, they're Man United fans. And it was the most glorious day for them. They thought they had no chance, but they come up with a huge, huge victory. You look at the standings right now on where United stands. They're 9th. I know it's still not a good position for a club the stature of Manchester United to be sitting on in 9th place, but it brought them way higher to where they were, which was bottom end of the table. But it is a big, big victory for Manchester United. A crucial 3 points. They're sitting at 13 points right now. You think about it, they're only 2 points behind Liverpool, who's in 4th, which we talked about. And obviously Arsenal leading the way with 19 points. So Manchester United, if they can continue to build off of that, we look at their last match in October is against Brighton. Let's see how they can perform, and they continue to climb the ladder here in the Premier League, even though it's early in the season. If they can ride the ship, turn it around, and start with that crucial win over Liverpool that shocked not only England but the world, this could be a good season for Manchester United. But I don't want to say too much because we all know how Man United has been in pretty much the last decade. But again, your team of the week, Manchester United, 2-1 victory over Liverpool. Well, guys, we have come to the end of episode number 5. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this episode. There was a lot going on in soccer this week. There was Champions League. We'll get into that next week. But let me know if you guys want any more guests on here. Who would you like to see? Who would you like to hear from? Or anything you guys may like to hear on the show. We appreciate it. We hope you guys are enjoying the Plug Talk Sports Network. Of course, we're not only just Monday now. Of course, Monday we have the Plug Talk Sports live show. Tuesdays we have Sideline. Wednesday we have Courtside. Obviously, Thursday here we have Pressing Matters with myself. Tomorrow we have Plug Picks. Saturday we have the 5th round. And Sunday we have one-timers. But again, we appreciate all the support from you guys and the creation of the Plug Talk Sports Network. We hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll see you next week for episode 6